What happens when a millionaire CEO walks into his own salon for a cheap haircut? And no one knows who he is? Wesley Harlan sat in the back of his black SUV, tugging a baseball cap lower over his eyes. His beard had grown out just enough to hide the sharp jawline that had once been on the cover of a local business magazine. The flannel shirt was intentional. So were the faded jeans and beat-up sneakers. He looked like a guy who worked night shifts at a gas station, not the owner of an 11-location salon chain. He stared out the window at the strip mall in front of him, one of his mid-tier salons, tucked between a laundromat and a discount shoe store. It was one of the older locations, one he bought 5 years ago when he took over the chain from a retiring couple. He'd never met the stylists here. Most of the staff had changed since the pandemic, and he'd heard nothing bad from the district manager. But lately, online reviews had dipped. Customers saying things like cold atmosphere, rush service, and unwelcoming staff. The numbers were still decent. But Wesley had learned something in his first year of ownership. Numbers lie. People don't. He stepped out of the car and walked into the salon. A woman at the front desk barely looked up. "Walk in." "Yeah," Wesley said, disguising his voice with a slight rasp. "Just need a trim. Nothing fancy." She tapped on her screen. "Take a seat. You'll be next with Raina." There were 4 stylists on the floor. 2 were mid-cut, one was brushing off a cape, and Raina, he guessed, was scrolling on her phone behind the counter. She looked to be in her late 30s, with bleached blonde hair and sharp eyeliner. When she noticed Wesley watching, she sighed and shoved her phone into her apron. "Wes," she called lazily. He stood. "Yep." She didn't smile. "Chair 3. Wesley sat down. She wrapped the cape around him, without saying a word. "You know what you want?" she asked, combing through his hair. "Yeah, just a cleanup. Around the ears, little off the top." She nodded, not making eye contact. Her movements were fast, practiced, but there was no warmth to it. No small talk. No interest. He didn't need fake conversation, but something about her energy felt off. Robotic. Detached. Halfway through the cut, the door jingled. A teen girl stepped in, maybe 16, with dark curly hair, glasses, and a soft voice. "I was wondering if I could ask about pricing for color." Raina glanced at her through the mirror. "You got a parent with you?" The girl hesitated. "No, but then no. We don't give quotes to kids alone. Come back with a guardian," Raina said, flicking the clippers back on. The girl blinked. "I'm just asking." Raina turned her head, deadpan. "Sweetheart, this is a salon, not a daycare. We don't do fantasy color for every TikTok trend. You want prices, bring someone who's gonna pay." The girl's face flushed. "Okay. Sorry." She turned and quickly walked out. Wesley's stomach twisted. He watched the girl through the mirror until the door closed. He turned his head slightly. Was that necessary? Raina rolled her eyes. "You have no idea how many kids come in just to waste time. We don't work for free." He stared at her. She didn't ask for a cut. Just a question. Raina shrugged. Then she can ask it when she comes back with someone who actually matters. Wesley didn't speak again. By the time the haircut was done, he'd made up his mind. He checked out quietly, leaving a generous tip not for Raina, but to see if anyone noticed. No one did. No thank you, no goodbye. Back in his SUV, Wesley sat in silence. This was not how his salons were meant to run. He pulled out his phone and called Petra Jennings, his district manager. "Petra, cancel the rest of my day. I'm visiting this salon again. Tomorrow. As myself." She hesitated. "Everything okay?" "No," he said. "And I want the full staff there. Morning meeting. Mandatory." He ended the call. Wesley had built this company to be different. Welcoming. Personal. Human. And tomorrow, they were going to remember who really mattered. The next morning, Wesley arrived before the salon opened. He wore a fitted navy sport coat and a charcoal button-down, nothing flashy, but enough to signal he wasn't here for a walk in trim. Petra stood waiting near the back room, arms crossed, eyes scanning the staff as they trickled in. The stylists looked confused, some tense, none aware of what was coming. Wesley stepped to the center of the floor. "Good morning. I'm Wesley Harlan. I own this salon." The room froze. The stylist who'd cut his hair, Raina, stiffened slightly, but kept her expression unreadable. A young man brushing off station 2 blinked twice, then looked down. The receptionist from yesterday leaned against the counter, still chewing gum. Wesley kept his tone even. "I visited yesterday as a customer. I didn't announce myself because I wanted to see how we treat people when no one's watching." He glanced around, letting silence fill the space. "I saw a girl 16, maybe come in, nervous but polite. She asked a simple question. One of you humiliated her and sent her away." He didn't look at Raina directly, but the message was clear. That's not a training issue. That's a values issue. And I won't tolerate it. Raina finally spoke. "Look, if this is about some teenager—" "It is," Wesley interrupted. "And about the way we speak to anyone who walks through these doors. I didn't build this company to make people feel small." Raina's arms folded. "You don't know what it's like, dealing with the nonsense that walks in here. Half of them don't even buy anything. And you don't know what it's like to be 16, nervous, and talked down to by an adult with scissors in their hand," Wesley said, voice sharp now. "You're done here. Pack your things." She blinked. "You're firing me? Over one, you're done. Today." She opened her mouth again, then clamped it shut. The silence was thick as she walked to the back, grabbed her bag, and left without another word. Wesley turned to the group. "I'm not here to punish everyone, but I need to understand what's been happening here. So I'm staying the day. I'll observe, I'll help where I can, and I'll listen." He looked to Petra. "You'll be with me. No filters." By 9 o'clock, the first clients began arriving. Wesley kept to the corner at first, pretending to check something on a clipboard while he watched. The receptionist Marla greeted a woman and her toddler with a flat name, then immediately turned to her phone as the woman signed in. Wesley stepped forward. "What's your name?" he asked the woman gently. "Carmen," she said, shifting the toddler to her other hip. "We're just doing a quick bang trim." He smiled. "We'll take care of you shortly." Marla glanced up, annoyed. "She's already signed in." Wesley looked at her. "Let's take a break from your phone for the rest of the morning. If someone walks in here, they deserve your full attention." "I was checking the software," she shot back. "No, you weren't," Wesley said, calm but firm. "Front desk sets the tone. Right now, it's telling people they're not worth your time." Petra stepped in. "I'll cover the desk. Marla, go restock shampoo bars in the back." Marla rolled her eyes, but left. Wesley turned to the floor. The stylist at chair 2, his name tag read Luis, was finishing a cut on a middle-aged man. He moved with care, checking each line, brushing around the ears. When the client stood, Luis offered a warm smile and walked him to the front. "Your style looks great," he said. "If you ever want to try a softer taper in the back, we can do that next time." The man nodded. "You're the first one who's said that instead of just buzzing it." "Thanks." Wesley waited until the man left, then approached. "You've been here how long?" Luis looked surprised. "Just over 8 months." "You always this detailed?" Luis shrugged, a little embarrassed. "I guess. I just cut hair, how I'd want mine cut." Wesley nodded. "How many clients do you average in a day?" "Depends. Sometimes 6 or 7. Lately it's more like 5. "Why's that?"
Luis hesitated.
"Honestly, people walk in, take a look around, and leave. I can't say I blame them." Wesley nodded again, then moved on. By midday, patterns were emerging. Stations were clean but worn. The waiting area had a cluster of outdated magazines and a dusty plant in the corner. No music played. No one laughed. It felt like a room waiting for something to go wrong. In the back, Petra pulled up scheduling data and pointed to the gaps. "We've had high turnover since February," she said. Raina drove off 2 junior stylists. Said they weren't tough enough. We didn't catch it until it was too late. One of them cried in the break room her last day. Wesley exhaled. "And you didn't tell me?" "I didn't know that part," Petra said. "Just that they left." He frowned. "What about hiring? Why haven't we filled the spots?" "No one wants to work here," Petra said quietly. Word spreads. Stylists talk. Then we clean house. She looked at him, surprised. "We rebuild. From the ground up if we have to." Later that afternoon, a woman named Jess arrived for a color appointment. She was in her 20s, hair already lightened in patches, clearly a self-dye project gone halfway. She looked nervous as she sat down. The stylist assigned Angela greeted her kindly and asked what she was hoping to fix. They spoke in low tones, and Angela listened carefully, nodding, never judging. Wesley watched the interaction closely. When Jess left 2 hours later, her hair was evened out into a soft copper tone, and she looked relieved. Angela came to the back room for a quick break, and Wesley followed. "You handled that beautifully," he said. Angela blinked. "Oh, thanks." She seemed worried. "You made her feel safe. That matters." She smiled, then hesitated. "I almost didn't take her. Raina used to pass those off or complain they were too much work." Wesley gave a short nod. "You shouldn't have to make that choice." He looked around the break room. The fridge hummed loudly. The table was stained with old coffee rings. An empty candy wrapper sat on top of the microwave. Everything about the space felt forgotten. "This whole place needs to change," he said. Angela looked down. "We've all just been trying to ride it out." Wesley met her eyes. "You won't have to anymore." By closing time, Wesley gathered the remaining staff on the floor. "I've seen enough to know the problems here aren't about skills. They're about culture. That ends today." He looked at each of them in turn. "Anyone who treated people like interruptions won't be here tomorrow. If you made people feel welcome, if you try to help, even in chaos, you'll have a place here. And you'll be supported." Marla stood off to the side, arms folded. Wesley turned to her. "You've had multiple chances to engage with people. You didn't take them. You're dismissed, effective immediately." She opened her mouth, then closed it, and walked out without a word. Wesley turned back to the others. "This won't be fixed overnight, but it will be fixed. You have my word." And for the first time all day, someone Luis let out a quiet breath and nodded. Wesley arrived at the salon just after 7 the next morning, coffee in hand, hair still damp from a quick rinse. A cleaning crew was wiping down the counters, one of the changes he'd ordered the previous evening. The space already felt different. Not fixed, but lighter. Angela arrived first, unlocking her station and laying out her scissors with quiet focus. She gave a small nod of acknowledgement, but didn't make small talk. Luis came in next, balancing a breakfast sandwich in one hand and a duffel over his shoulder. He looked surprised to see Wesley already there. "You're early," Luis said. "So are you." Luis grinned faintly and headed to the break room. Wesley took a clipboard and began walking the floor, noting which stations needed upgrades. Half the chairs still had uneven armrests. 2 overhead lights buzzed faintly. The front desk computer lagged each time a tab was clicked. Most of it hadn't been reported. No one had expected any of it to be fixed. By opening time, only 3 stylists were on the schedule: Angela, Luis, and a quiet woman named Hema who'd transferred from another location 2 months ago. She hadn't said much the day before but had handled her clients with precision and care. Petra had vouched for her work ethic. Wesley wanted to see it himself. The first customer walked in at 9:20, a man in his 60s with silver hair and a gentle gait. He paused at the door, scanning the room as if unsure he was in the right place. Hema stepped forward. "Good morning," she said, her voice soft but clear. "How can I help you today?" The man smiled. "Just a cut. I think I'm a little early." "That's no problem," she said, gesturing toward her chair. "Come on in. We'll take our time." Wesley watched from his seat near the window, pretending to go over inventory sheets. The way Hema tucked the man's coat over the back of a chair, how she asked if the clippers were too loud near his ears, none of it was dramatic, but it was deliberate. Grounded. Human. Midday brought 3 more walk-ins. Angela took a mother and son combo, while Luis handled a client who seemed to know exactly what he wanted and said very little. Everyone moved steadily, but not rushed. No one was checking phones. No one snapped at anyone. Still, the gaps were obvious. The waiting area stayed mostly empty. The phones barely rang. The hole left by the previous toxic energy hadn't yet been filled with something better. At 2:15, a woman entered with a cautious look and a faint line of tension in her brow. She wore a navy uniform with a fast food logo on the chest and had her hair tied back in a tight, uneven bun. She stood by the front desk, unsure where to go. Wesley greeted her directly. "Looking for a cut?" She hesitated.
Yeah,
"I just got off work. I don't have an appointment." "We've got space," he said. "Luis is finishing up soon. He'll take care of you." She nodded, still not smiling. Luis returned from the back, wiping his hands on a towel. "Luis," Wesley said quietly, "she just got off a shift. Take your time with her. No rush." Luis nodded without asking questions. As she sat in the chair, Luis greeted her gently. "You want to keep the length or go shorter?" She reached back, pulling at her bun. "I don't really know. It's just always in the way. I don't do much with it." "No pressure," Luis said. "We'll start slow." Wesley didn't interfere. He watched from a distance, trusting the process. A few minutes into the cut, he noticed something. The woman kept glancing at her reflection, almost like she didn't recognize herself. When Luis finished, she stood slowly, running her fingers through the new bob, lightly layered, easy to manage. Her eyes stayed on the mirror. "I've never had it like this," she said, almost to herself. Luis smiled. "Looks good on you." She nodded, then looked toward Wesley. "You the manager?" "I'm the owner." Her expression shifted. "This place feels better today. I used to come here 2 years ago. Then it got cold." He met her gaze. "I know. We're changing that." She gave a small nod and walked to the front to pay. Luis stepped back, visibly tired. Wesley handed him a bottle of water. "You good?"
Luis nodded. "Yeah."
"Just feels like people are breathing again today." Wesley leaned against the wall. "You think that woman's coming back?" Luis didn't hesitate.
"Yeah.
"And she'll bring someone next time." At 4:30, Petra returned from a nearby supplier with updated product samples and a stack of applications from Stylist, looking to transfer in. She handed Wesley the folder. "A few names from our downtown location. They heard about yesterday. Already. Word travels fast, especially when someone finally gets fired." Wesley flipped through the papers. Most of the applicants had been with the company for over a year. One had even been part of the original team from when he'd taken over the business. "Let's schedule interviews for next week," he said. "Staggered small groups. I want to meet each one myself." Petra nodded. "You sure you want to be that involved?" "For a while, yeah." Outside, the sun dipped behind the strip mall's roofline. The day was winding down. At 5:20, a girl walked in, holding a folded piece of paper. She was quiet, slim, and wore a hoodie 2 sizes too big. She looked around nervously, then approached the front. I came yesterday," she said, not looking up. "But the lady told me to leave." Angela stepped forward gently. "Are you here about color?" The girl nodded and handed over the paper. It was a printout of a photo. Burgundy tips fading into black, subtle but noticeable. Angela looked at it. You want something like this?
Yes.
But I don't want to get in trouble. My mom said it's okay. She just couldn't come today. No trouble at all, Angela said. We'll walk you through it. Wesley stepped beside Angela. You're the one who came in yesterday? The girl nodded. I own this place, he said. And I want to apologize for how you were treated. That wasn't right. She blinked. It's okay. No, it's not, he said. But we're glad you came back. Angela brought her to a styling chair just for consultation. They took their time, going over the photo, checking hair condition, estimating timing and cost. No pressure. No cold stares. Just conversation. When the girl left this time with a pricing sheet, a scheduled appointment, and a visible smile, Wesley turned back to Petra. That's what this place should feel like every day.
Petra nodded. It will.
Wesley headed to the break room, where Hema sat quietly with a protein bar and a book. She looked up when he entered. Didn't mean to interrupt, he said. You're not, she replied, closing the book. He sat across from her. I'll be honest, I wasn't sure what to expect from you yesterday. You didn't say much. I don't talk much at first, she said. I watch. People tell you more that way. You've seen a lot then, Wesley said. Hema paused. I've worked in 3 salons. This is the first one where the owner actually showed up for more than a photo op. Wesley smiled faintly. I'm here now, and I'm staying close. She nodded, then stood. Let me know if you need help training the new staff. I will. As the last client left for the evening and the stylists began wiping down their stations, Wesley stood near the front, watching the rhythm of closing time. No one was rushing out. No one looked over their shoulder. The air felt different, not fixed, not perfect but honest. Like something real had taken root. He locked the door behind the final exit and turned off the lights one by one. This wasn't about one bad haircut anymore. It was about everything that came after. 3 weeks later, Wesley stood in the back of the salon, clipboard in hand, watching the buzz of a late Thursday afternoon. The floor was running with only 4 stylists, but the energy was balanced. Appointments were spaced carefully to avoid overload, and everyone moved with quiet rhythm. The first round of team restructuring had settled. 2 stylists had transferred in from other branches: Jules, known for her creative color work, and Omar, who specialized in textured hair. Neither had worked with the old crew, and that was intentional. Wesley didn't want lingering loyalties tied to the previous culture. He wanted fresh eyes and people who believed in the direction he was taking the business. Angela was coaching Jules through her first client review process. They'd implemented a new system. Stylists would take 5 minutes at the end of each session to walk clients through what was done, answer questions, and suggest aftercare. It wasn't scripted. It was meant to make people feel seen, not processed. Luis had picked up more hours, but Wesley was careful not to push. He was covering slightly longer shifts than before, but with scheduled breaks and no double booking. Hema, quiet but deliberate as ever, had taken on the role of mentoring Omar in cross-training. She'd done it without being asked, just started showing him techniques during slow moments. He'd picked it up fast. What stood out now was the absence of tension. No one hovered near the clock. No one snapped at the front desk. And no one avoided eye contact with customers. Wesley walked to the front where Petra was reviewing the updated pricing signage with a new receptionist, Dana. She was in her 20s, had a steady voice and a habit of writing things down even if she didn't have to. Wesley liked that about her. She asked questions, but not the same ones twice. Dana, he said, how's your first week been? She turned, adjusting the lanyard at her waist. Honestly? It's been refreshing. I've worked front desk at a few places. Usually there's some invisible rule about who gets treated like they matter. Here, it's been different. In what way? No one's trying to prove they're better than the person next to them. Everyone just wants it to work. Wesley nodded. That's what we're building on. He turned to Petra, speaking lower now. Any feedback from the community? She handed him a printout of the recent online reviews. Over 20 new ones had come in over the last 2 weeks. All positive. Words like welcoming, attentive, and respectful showed up repeatedly. We've also had 3 former clients return, Petra said. One of them mentioned they came back just to see if the rumors were true. What rumors? That the owner fired 2 staff in front of everyone for being rude, Petra said, lips pressed into a flat line. Apparently that story made the rounds. Wesley didn't respond right away. He looked out across the floor. There was a girl in one chair, maybe 12, getting soft curls pinned for what looked like a school dance. Her mom sat nearby, smiling. Across the room, a man in a mechanic's uniform leaned back in Jules' chair, eyes closed as she trimmed carefully around his ears. Let it spread, he said finally. If people know we don't tolerate disrespect, good. Saves us time. A few minutes later, the door opened and a familiar figure stepped in tall, mid-40s, wearing a faded jacket and carrying a clipboard. Gerald, the regional health and safety inspector. Wesley had invited him for a scheduled walkthrough, not because of any concern, but to reinforce a new standard. Wesley met him halfway. Afternoon. Appreciate you coming on short notice. Gerald nodded. Always happy to do surprise checks when it's the owner asking. They walked the floor slowly. Gerald noted the new sanitization protocols, the updated ventilation filters, and the improved lighting in the wash area. What did this run you? Gerald asked, tapping a new LED fixture above Station 5. Too much, Wesley said, but less than what it costs to lose trust. Gerald jotted a few notes, then paused near the break room. Last time I was here a few months back, different vibe.
Tense. Rushed.
Nobody made eye contact. Yeah, Wesley said. That's changed. Gerald nodded once. Keep it that way. After he left, Wesley returned to the floor and helped Angela carry in a new shipment of towel bundles. They worked silently for a few minutes, stacking neatly in the storage closet. You've got good instincts, Wesley said as he folded the last bundle. Angela looked up. I've been doing this a while. That's not what I mean. You're not just good with cuts. You know when someone needs quiet, when they need encouragement. That's rare. She didn't respond right away. Raina used to say emotions slowed down the floor, Angela said. Said we weren't therapists. She was right, Wesley replied. We're not. But we are humans. And people need more than just the technical. Angela gave a small nod. The girl from last week, the one who came back after being turned away, she sent a thank you letter. Said she felt listened to for the first time in a salon. Wesley raised an eyebrow. You kept it. Angela pulled it from her apron pocket, folded and worn at the edges. She handed it to him. He read quickly. It was handwritten, simple, but heartfelt. The girl had described how nervous she'd been, how she almost didn't come back. She'd ended the note by saying she'd saved up enough money and planned to bring her best friend for matching color. Wesley handed the letter back. She coming today? Tomorrow, Angela said. He nodded. Let's make sure we're ready. The day wound down with the same steady pace it had started with. As clients left, they waved. Not out of obligation, but because they wanted to. There was no script. No forced cheer. Just people interacting with respect. At 6, Wesley gathered the staff in the break room. They stood in a loose semicircle, some leaning against the counter, others still in aprons. I wanted to close a little early today, he said. We've got food coming in 10 minutes. Just a small thank you. Luis raised an eyebrow. You're feeding us now? Once a month. Team dinner.
Paid.
No work talk unless you want to. Dana laughed softly. What if we just want to eat and go home? Then eat and go home, Wesley said. No speeches.
Just.
appreciation.
The group relaxed.
Even Hema gave a faint smile. As the food arrived, trays of grilled vegetables, pasta, and warm bread, people drifted into small conversations. Jules showed Angela a photo of her dog. Omar asked Luis about local barbershops. Dana and Hema shared tips on scheduling software. Wesley stood off to the side, plate in hand, watching. He didn't say much. He didn't need to, because everything he'd hoped for was already happening. Not because of a policy, not because of a rule book, because people, when led with clarity, when held accountable, when believed in, show up differently. By 7:30, most had gone home. Wesley stayed to lock up. He moved through the salon quietly, turning off lights one by one. At the front, he paused, looking out through the glass door. The street outside was empty. The sky hung low with violet dusk. He looked back once more at the space he'd nearly lost to complacency. Then he turned the key, pulled the gate down, and stepped into the night knowing exactly what it took to build something worth keeping.